And welcome back to Naruto What If, Part 7 of What If Naruto had joined Orochimaru. So, last time in the Naruto What If, there was quite a bit of change that happened. Naruto, begrudgingly, after really thinking about all their options at the moment, did agree to come back to the Leaf, at least for the time being. Unfortunately, he's still got to deal with a lot of animosity from some people. And he has to face up to some things he did to some people. And by that I mean he must face off with Konohamaru, and he's eventually gonna have to talk to Konohamaru about the fact that he did join the guy who killed his grandfather. Also, Itachi had passed by the end of this last episode and gifted his eyes to Naruto because Sasuke sadly was no longer there. Now I did have someone ask about what's going to be the deal with the whole Indra Ashura spirit thing. And unfortunately, there's no proof that if Indra or Ashura's spirit, reincarnated spirit as it was, died, it's just gonna fly into someone else. I'm not just gonna do that for the sake of making that a thing. Now that said, where do we stand now that we know that pain is coming, and that Naruto has the eyes? Well, Naruto's most likely been sitting on the eyes, looking at them and just thinking about what is he gonna do, how exactly is he gonna handle us? And Karin, Tayuya, Suigetsu, Jugo, or at least a couple of them have been thinking it over, talking over with them about what should be done, what can they do. And Karin is probably the most medically savvy among them. So she does mention that even if the transplant were successful and your body took the eyes, which most likely you got Tsunade, Shizune here, they can probably do it. You're not going to really be able to turn it off, even with the Fox's chakra and all that, just because it's not a natural eye. That is basically the reason Kakashi couldn't turn it off, is because it was a transplanted eye. He wasn't a natural Uchiha. So why was it Eo? Was that guy named from the Mist couldn't turn off his Byakugan? That's why he had to keep it covered. Same principle there. The only beauty is with the Byakugan, you don't need to pull the blindfold off. Although it did appear like he had more control over the Byakugan than Kakashi did over the Sharingan. Because if a transplanted Byakugan worked the same way as a Sharingan did, then he'd just be draining chakra constantly, unless he keeps his eye closed a lot. Is that what he does? He does this underneath the eye patch all the time? Is that what he does? I guess anything's possible now I think on it more. Maybe he does that. I mean, his depth perception would suck anyway. I'm guessing that's what he does, because I can't think of any real way that it is different from the Sharingan in that aspect. Because it's not a natural. I digress. So, Naruto's asking about that, or Naruto's pondering it over. It's like, well, I can't keep these here forever. They're gonna start wondering about things pretty soon. And besides, as much as I trust you guys, none of you have the medical tech knowledge to be able to transplant these eyes successfully. To which Suigetsu does look. It's like, you're really gonna take those eyes? Well, not quite. What Karin says is true. I'm not going to be able to manage having both these Sharingan. I just can't do it. They're not part of my natural eyes. But I'd be foolish not to use at least one of them. Still, I think there's a way we can make good on this and put some goodwill back into the village a little bit, at least on my part. And to which he's getting ready to head out with the eyes. To which Tayuya actually does respond. Rightfully so. It's like, what the hell do you care about goodwill? You hate it. You hate this place. You do not hate this place. And to which Naruto actually, pauses and stops. Like, when I was a kid, I did hate this place. I tried to live up to something better and, to better ideology, but everyone hated me. Everyone either hated me, disrespected me, or underestimated me, or ignored me. But as I got older, I came to realize it's just, it wasn't just the way things are. It was the product of a failed system. And then I look around and I walk through the village now, and people don't look at me with the same hate they used to. They look at me as someone they don't recognize. They don't see me as the fox bred anymore. I've had the kids come up to me and say hi on the street now. It's not as bad as I remember. There's still things in here that there's still people here who certainly hate me, I'm sure. But there's always going to be people who hate you, no matter how good a person you are. So You just gotta, run with the flow. Does that mean you want to be a Hokage? Oh, fuck no. Naruto just said, nah, I'm content doing my own thing. And he just kind of waves it off. And, he's going to Tsunade and, the Hokages. And Naruto goes up to the Yambas. Like, I have something I want to talk to the Hokage about. And Naruto, they look at Naruto, and they give a nod and let him in. And Tsunade's just there. It's like, Naruto, what exactly you want to talk about? It's like, could you actually bring Kakashi Sensei here? I couldn't find him on the way. He's probably at the Memorial Stone again. Hold on, we'll get him in. And sure enough, Kakashi shows up a little later, and Jiraiya shows up too. It's like, well, I'd say Jiraiya shows up, but most likely Jiraiya is actually currently doing the mission to the Rain Village at the moment, which we know how that's going to end. And that's why Pain doesn't immediately go after the Nine Tails. I think that's actually why he didn't immediately go after the Nine Tails before either, is the fact that there was a spy and he had to deal with Jiraiya first. So they're, talking. It's like, what's going on? It's like, I got contacted last night by someone, or yesterday by someone. As someone, who exactly someone? And he pulls out the scroll and boom, and then the eyes are in the jar and they see it, and those are Sharingan eyes. So Itachi Uchiha has passed, and they're both like, wait, are you sure? He's one of the reasons Orochimaru is no longer around. Found out what happened to Sasuke, and he wanted revenge, and he explains the whole scenario with what Itachi really said to him about the massacre that night and everything along those lines. Like, and how can you? And to which Tsunade actually says, like, how can you trust what he said? To which Naruto replies, I don't know, Tsunade. How can you trust what I say? To which he's actually, and even Kakashi's like, he's got you there. Let me put that. Trust me, if he wanted the fox, he probably could have taken the fox. Even as strong as I am, he definitely had the ability to take me down if he truly wanted to. He wouldn't have entrusted me with his eyes otherwise. So what do you want to be doing? And so Tsunade's just like, so what are you implying? He was planning to give these eyes to Sasuke, but that's not going to happen. So you're going to take the eyes? And to which he actually looks at Kakashi and says, not exactly. That's actually why I called you Kakashi Sensei. Because I'm aware of what happens when a non-Uchiha has the Sharingan. It's very draining, and you're unable to deactivate it. It's true. The only reason if I could deactivate it, I really wouldn't be wearing this headband all day. But you get used to the depth perception issues. So you want me to? So what are you implying, Naruto? I do want one of the eyes. I'd be a fool not to accept something. Plus, with the fox's chakra, should be able to offset some of the negative effects of that. But I'm actually thinking we get the other one to the only other Sharingan user in the village. Like, Kakashi's actually a little surprised, but he's like, really, Naruto? Why would you give it to me? Now I'm going to be walking around completely blind. I'd be walking around with no depth perception whatsoever. Two black holes, not what I'm implying, and he says that's not what I'm implying. Now, this is actually a very... See, we know to get the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, you need to be the way we've seen it done thus far, is you need to be an Uchiha, and you need to have the eyes of an Uchiha implanted in your head. Preferably someone of blood relation, but that's not it's just easier with someone with blood relation. But there's no indication that is like a true blood. You need to be a blood Uchiha to get the Eternal Mangekyo. In fact, I will look it up right now as I'm talking, just to be 100% sure. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. But what I'm kind of going with here is that even though Kakashi's eye is transplanted, if you were to transplant another eye in there, would it theoretically awaken the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan? I'm just not 100% certain on that, but at the same time, the strongest Dojutsu Kekkei Genkai of the Uchiha clan being the most powerful variant of the Sharingan. At such a point, the Eternal Mangekyo awakens with the... Okay, so the Dojutsu can only be awakened by the user of the standard Mangekyo Sharingan transplanting eye of a relative who has also awakened the Dojutsu. Now, that says relative, but the thing is, we don't know for 100% certain if it actually has to be a relative. I mean, that being said, all Uchiha are technically related, so... for the sake of this what if, because this is a pretty gray area. We've never had to ask this question, I think, when it comes to a transplant into an already transplanted eye. For the sake of fun, let's say it will work. Because that's where I was going with this to begin with. so, just so with wow, I just lost my place there. With the idea, and he's like, "You sure about this? You sure you want to do it?" Yeah, I'm sure. It might be chakra consuming, Kakashi Sensei, but with it, you should be able to go into a whole new stretch of power. And Kakashi's contemplating it, and they're like, "We're gonna need all the help we can get. The Akatsuki are still out there. They're gonna come for me at some point." And as much as I may have badmouthed the village in the past, I'm not going to be stubborn and say there aren't good things in the village to protect. And they do warm up. They do smile at the whole notion that Naruto is finally starting to accept the village again to some degree. That said, this like, it's still going to be risky. After all, when it was done to Kakashi, it was on the fly. Fortunately, you have me. You two are going to be out of commission for a few days, maybe even a week afterwards, for the full effects to settle in. But if it works, you guys are probably going to be on a whole new tier here. Now, and that being said, remember this: transplanting means they do have to take out the eye, which means Kakashi's eye, which still. Think about this actually for a second. Sasuke's his original Sharingan is still out there somewhere when you actually break it down. Granted, those eyes are near blind, but they're still out there somewhere, which means Kakashi's eye would also be available to transplant into Naruto, technically speaking. So the question now becomes is like, do they figure that out at all? Let's say for the sake of fun, yes. I actually like that idea. Now, I'll admit, that one's just a real off the top, changing things on the whim moment. Like, well, yeah, if you put the eye in there, that could work. That they both have the same eternal Mangekyo, probably just in opposite eyes. Just for you get this cross effect like I got here, except their eyes are there. So that's what happens. They go through the surgery. It's a success. And then Naruto actually suggests that they do it again with Kakashi's other old eye into his head. Now, to do this, though, it does put him in recovery longer. But his recovery time is greater than Kakashi's thanks to his Uzumaki heritage and the Fox Chakra. So he's still ready to go right around the time that Kakashi is. Meanwhile, on a quiet, peaceful day in Konoha, a little while later, well, they do learn that, meanwhile, they learned that Jiraiya was killed. Everyone's a bit mourning. Naruto has mixed feelings about this. He never hated Jiraiya, because Jiraiya did teach him some stuff. He did teach him the summoning, and he did teach him the Rasengan, which he was eternally grateful for. But yeah, ultimately he's a mixed emotions. On one, he just kind of feels a little bit of nothing, but at the same time, he's upset to hear that Jiraiya is gone. Jiraiya was someone who did vouch for him and did believe in him on some level. So he does spend some of the time mourning, and his friends are there. Karin's there. Sakura comes and she gives him gives him a hug and says like I apologizes for everything again. Like she's probably gonna be doing that for the rest of her days with him. Like, I'm so sorry about everything. It's like, I promise I'll spend my entire life trying to make it up. And Naruto actually hears sincerity and sees sincerity, and he does give her a smile, like his pat. And so I was like, look, Sakura, your best is enough. Yes, the fact that you care enough to actually apologize, that means a lot to me. It does. So thank you. And she smiles, and Karin's just looking at her and saying, yeah, you can go now. Yeah, you're his teammate and his friend, but this is my man. I think, oh, okay. It's like, Sakura does realize, he's like, I missed, and Naruto's become so mature, and he actually is really good looking. Oh, I missed my chance with him. Oh. That's okay. She can pair off with Lee. I really don't care where Sakura goes in terms of the relationship. But if she pairs off with Lee, explains where Metal came from. Again, there's no evidence of who his mom, Rock Lee's wife, or baby mama is. So, and again, people want to argue it's 10-10. It's not 10-10. They said it's not 10-10. Most likely he married a civilian woman. But anyway, or some ninja we never met. So, and while they're recovering, they're talking, they're sharing stories. Kakashi actually is able to laugh for a change and all that. And, again, on a quiet day in Konoha, boom! The invasion of pain starts. And now both Kakashi and Naruto are just about ready to go out and do their thing. And then they hear the nurses, the medical men, scrambling, help out the civilians. And what's going on? It's the Akatsuki. They're here. And Kakashi and Naruto are like, well, we're gonna have to try this out at some point. Yeah, that's right. And so they take off their bandages. Naruto, it's about time you get this back. And he just hands Naruto his old headband. And Naruto just kind of gives a smile to him, and Kakashi just, And now Naruto's got his headband over his right eye, whereas Kakashi's got his over his left eye. And so they head out, and, they're busy, trying to save everyone. Pain, obviously, the Deva Path is looking around. Sakura kills the centipede. So really what happens here, it's actually the Deva Path is there, and, Kakashi immediately confronts him, and he's got his Sharingan activated immediately. Remember, the Sharingan can be activated without looking like the It's when he activates his Mangekyo Sharingan that it would look like the Eternal now. I was like, you're Kakashi Hatake. Tell me, where is the Nine Tails? He's all, no, he comes and goes however he likes, but I'm your opponent now. They start going at it. And Kakashi's being very careful about how to use his, new ability. He's not using the Mangekyo unless he has to. It's like, he fires the Shinra Tensei at Kakashi. Kakashi goes flying, but it's a clone. And eventually Kakashi does figure out the timing. There's a 5-second interval. To which Naruto is more than prepared. And basically, he's been waiting in the wings for this. Now tell me, you are dangerous, Kakashi. You could pose a problem. It's time to end this. To which now Kakashi just like, yeah, it's like, perhaps, but I'm not going out anytime soon. And so he activates his Eternal Mangekyo, in which Naruto activates it at the same time. Now, first off, appearance-wise, I didn't prepare something for this, and I really should have. What does the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan for Obito's eye and Itachi's eye look like a combination of? Well, I don't have it up here right now. Unfortunately, I don't. I apologize for that. I have the Sharingan. Well, let's see. Actually, can I get like a picture okay, so here's a picture of, where is, okay, there, okay. So let me just sidetrack real quick. And we're just going to move this here. So here is Itachi's, the one in the third row here on the far right, and Kakashi's or Obito's is the first one in the second row. So the question is, what does a combination of these two actually look like? I'm going to say, because we've seen, this is what, the one down here, what Sasuke's Eternal looks like, doesn't look exactly like a combination of the two. It looks basically like you took the Itachi's, straightened out the Tomai parts of it, the blade parts of it, and then stuck it in Sasuke's. So it doesn't have to look like a true combination of the two, so long as the actual, appearance there. And what I think you could do is actually something very akin to Sasuke's Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. And without even changing the shape of Itachi's very much in this. You can take Itachi's and basically stick it in the blade parts of of Obito's, and basically you have it'd be red in this case, the red orb blade, whatever you want to call it, the red shuriken looking eye of Itachi inside the Obito pinwheel. It's not really clear what shape this actually takes. We can see exactly how many Rinnegan actually exist out there. Rinnegan, what am I talking about? Mangekyo Sharingans. There's only 2 eternal ones though. Anyway, so that's roughly what that would look like. So they're combined. Now, what exactly does it do? Well, I think it actually allows Kakashi, even though Obito's allows him the full Kamui, which is basically the whole intangibility, extra dimensional thing, whereas Kakashi can just kind of create the dimensional hole. I think the big thing for Kakashi is he can use the full ability of Kamui to avoid hits. Now, granted, it's still very chakra consuming for both Naruto and Kakashi. Naruto less so because he does have much higher chakra reserves than Kakashi. But the chakra control, I think, is also on a higher level as well. So it's not as bad, I think, as the Mangekyo. It's really just bad on Kakashi just because it's not a natural Uchiha. But I think he's able to handle it a little bit better. Just a little bit. Because it's like, the full fruition of the Mangekyo Sharingan. So they're coming and they immediately go intangible. So, the Naruto clones go intangible. And, he tries to share intensive because they have no physical form. He's just, nope, not going anywhere. It's like, wait, what? And immediately Nagato is like, what? It's like, how did he do that? And he throws the chakra rods at him. And again, Naruto and Kakashi both go intangible. Lightning Blade and Rasengan coming at him. He's like, and he realizes, and he gets hit. And so Devapath gets taken down. And as Zoropath is trying to come in, firing missiles, all that, Naruto opens up the portals, opens up, multiple with his eyes. He goes into Sage transformation too to, boost his chakra. Kakashi, meanwhile, deactivates it to conserve chakra, comes in again with Lightning Blade, and they're just tag teaming the pains now. Just boom, boom, boom. Predapath, the only one who could save him is the Narakapath. And ultimately, they're now just systematically going around and finding all the pain paths. And with Sage transformation, that's not hard to do. So they go around systematically taking that. And immediately, Konans were like, wait, Nagato. She realized that all the pain paths are getting taken out. Like, what the hell is going on here? And so she, flies back to Nagato's location. And it's like, well, that was easier than expected. And he kind of like, whew. That new eye. It's actually a little easier to control than the Mangekyo, but still not easy as easy as it looks. And Naruto's even like, it's gonna take some getting used to with this eye. It's like, how are you able to keep up with this? Like, he's just tracking everything naturally. He's just, what the hell? It's like, yeah, you get used to it after some training. But we're not done yet. He puts the eye down, or his mask down, but he puts his headband down. But he still, takes the chakra, uses the nature transformation, and senses where pain is. So it's like, I got his true location. And so they go off, and the real one's not there because they remember the code that Jiraiya left him. And he goes off and finds them. And of course, they have the conversation. He tries to, control Naruto from right there. It does not work because Naruto's like, nope. Because again, he's got both the Fox and the Sage transformation going at the same time, and they have the conversation. Now, the conversation isn't exactly the same as it is in the original, but I do feel it gets the point across. It's more likely it's something akin to, I felt so much pain. Pain did help me grow. I can't deny that. Pain's a great teacher, but pain isn't to be used just for someone else's benefit. Pain is something we experience, but it's not something we should use. Because if you're just using pain to, get what you want, how are you any better than people who caused the pain to begin with? How are you how are you any better? And basically, that's honestly what our sensei ultimately taught us is that a cycle of hatred needs to stop, and I'm going to put an end to that no matter what, in my own way. I've seen it. I've done things I can't say I'm proud of, and I'm going to spend the rest of my days trying to make up for that. And Nagato looks at him, and he's actually has a smile. It's like, you are a unique one, Yaruto Uzumaki. Conan, we're going. And we'll leave you in peace. I take it your boss is not going to be happy, and they're both like, what do you mean? Exactly, what do you mean, my boss? It's like, Nagato is leader Akatsuki. Yeah, you'll have to forgive me if I don't believe that. I can tell right off the bat. There's something different. There's something about you guys that doesn't quite ring true. And plus, you forget, I worked with Orochimaru for years. We collected some information on our own. And they both kind of, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And he'll be back for he'll be back for these eyes. These eyes were not naturally gifted to me. They were his initially, and he will be back for them. And to which Nagato is like, and Arjo jokes like, you can always leave it with me. And to which Nagato does contemplate it. It's like, couldn't I? He's like, well, and Naruto's like, well, I mean, you could, but, and Naruto's like, I was mostly joking. I mean, I only just got this thing. Perhaps not. Perhaps you might be a worthy user of the Rinnegan. That's in your own way, Naruto. but it would take some time. It would take some time, and time's not something we have at the moment. So we bid you farewell, and so they leave. So that is kind of where it ends, with Nagato and Konan basically preparing for now Obito to show up. Now this is actually very interesting because we know Obito is basically the leader, and his Kamui really makes it difficult to do anything to him. But would he have actually beaten Pain in a fight? That's a good question. The answer is probably yes, because it's clear that if he's giving him orders, he's somehow on a higher level than he is. But that is just my opinion. Ultimately, though, that's where we're leaving part 7. We've still got probably at least another 1 or 2 parts until we get to the Naruto Zanpakuto What If. So keep your eyes out for the next parts of this one. Till then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you folks next time. Hit that bell if you want to be notified.